This is, I'll start with the open competition. And we can move that out of the way. There were 39 entries in open. I took a score of 21 to get a ribbon. And the three judges were Dan, Ron Baker, and Susan. So we're going to start off with the non-winning entries.
Hey, Kevin, what category we're in?
Oh, we're in open, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's probably
This
my
is
fault.
open, and if you can see in the upper left corner of the score, see that just changed.
Went by awful fast.
Yeah, I found out this had a timer set to it, and I had it set and just picked 8 seconds. Let me try. I'll skip through these that we've already seen.
I don't see a score.
Should be in the upper left-hand.
Upper left corner in yellow.
I see it.
Oh. Okay, thanks.
These are the 19s. And these are the images that scored 20. Okay, we go on now to the ribbon winners. Is that about the right length of time? I'm trying to use
Yeah,
the
that's
timer
fine.
program.
Thought that was good. Anybody
can-
else?
We
Yeah,
can adjust it either way, but
Yeah, works.
okay. I'll start. These are the ribbon winning entries. Honorable mentions. And fourth place,
Yeah, that's fine.
second place, and the first place ribbon winner. On to nature.
And who are the judges for nature?
Yeah, the judges were Mike Nelson, Ron Baker, and Tim Peterson. There were 27 entries, and to get a ribbon, you needed to have 22. We'll start off with the non-winning. These are the images that had 18 points. $19 points for this group.
Oh,
This actually had a 20 score. It just somehow doesn't copy that all the time. And these are the other 20-point images. These images had a score of 21.
These are not ribbon winners?
These are the not ribbon winners, correct?
Wow.
Go on to the ribbon winners. Again, you had to have a score of 22 to get a ribbon. I'll start with the honorable mentions. Fifth place images. Third place images. And second place. And the first place images.
Nice. Kevin, I have to ask, was that a stink bug?
No, it was something else. It was much larger. I
Okay.
spent the summer looking around, trying to do macro stuff. And okay, this was the creative category. There were 23 entries, and it took 19 points to get a ribbon. Again, these are the non-winning entries. This was 17 points. Uh, 18 points for these entries. Okay. The way it worked out with 23 entries, all but 4 got a ribbon because of the ties in fifth place and honorable mention. Okay, here are the creative honorable mentions. Okay, these are the fifth place entries. Fourth place. Third place. Second place winner. And a first place winner.
Very nice.
Okay, I have the award of merit from the last meeting. And these I just combined into one category to make it easier to show, but they come from all three categories. Okay, Bob Hawkins was the awards of merit judge, and we'll project those at the next meeting.
Okay, so let me explain to the folks out there in Zoom land what's different here, because we're doing this remote and by Zoom. Most people are at home. Kevin sent me the photos that I could choose from to critique. So the good thing is I got them yesterday, which means I get a chance to look at them before I have to discuss them. And I think that's a good thing for all of us. So I picked out these photos, and as I'm looking at them and thinking of what my critique is, I then, my mind changes to how could I improve this? And so I start thinking of suggestions to improve it. And that's like we used to do at the pre-meeting workshops that I did on improving your photos. So of course, since I'm sitting at my computer, I try to improve the image with what I'm thinking is a suggestion. So I end up with an image that I've worked on. So what I'm going to do here, we'll try something different here. I'll show you the photo and I'll critique it, and we can talk about how to improve it. And then I'll show you what I did with it. So it's a little different. We can give it a try, see if you like it or not. So here's the first photo. The image is a good exposure. It's nice and sharp. And we look at those birds in the sky, they're fantastic. I mean, they're just sharp as can be, and the position of them is just exactly what you want. The wings are just where you want them. You can see them clearly. They're not covering up the heads. I mean, what a great capture on the birds. So that's the focal point of the picture. The other significant thing here is that building with the green roof, maybe an old barn. So then I look at the composition here, and you know, the scene feels sort of empty and desolate. You know, no leaves on the trees. It looks like a farm field in the foreground with nothing growing there. So it's sort of a lonely kind of a scene. And so this is one of the images that didn't get a ribbon. So I say to myself, well, how could this be improved? And one of the first things I try when I'm trying to improve images is I apply the levels adjustment. which usually adds contrast to the image. And I'm surprised that can improve almost any image I try that on. So that would be a suggestion to try the levels adjustment here first. The other thing I think about here is that the left-hand side of the picture really doesn't contribute a whole lot to this. And I might consider almost cutting this picture in half and throwing away the left side. The other thing that I noticed in the composition here is that those birds are in the upper right-hand rule of thirds position, and it looks like they're flying out of the picture. Another option might be to move the birds over to the upper left-hand position. See what happens. Another suggestion here is to crop so that you just see the birds and maybe the treetops. And with the cropping, it's an easy thing to play with because it doesn't have to be permanent. You can crop and see how you like it. So those were thoughts I had on this picture. Does anybody out there in Zoom land have any ideas to improve this?
I agree. I think cropping would be the first thing.
Anybody else? All right, well, let me show you my picture where I ended up with this. So the levels adjustment added contrast, even looked like it added color in the sky, made that more interesting. And now the composition, you see, now has the birds in the upper left position where they have room to fly into the photo. I think I cropped a little off the bottom too. So to me, this was a better presentation of this photo. Okay, now here's another image that didn't get a ribbon. And my thought is it's the subject matter on the left is just too dark. We really can't see it to appreciate it. And I imagine the photographer took this with trying to keep the exposure on the window without blowing out. I don't know if there was any HDR involved here or not, but the window looks pretty good. And it looks like a circular stairway, which is really interesting right at the bottom where the stairs, where you would start up the stairs. Up near the top, I'm not sure exactly what's going on up there. Maybe we're looking at the underneath of some of the stairs up there. Other thing that seemed really odd to me here was that this railing, this curved railing comes up here and curves and disappears. And I can't figure out what's happening right here. And I think it really would have helped if we could have seen that railing continue all the way through. And I don't know, maybe it's missing completely, but it seemed like that weakened the picture there. So to improve this, I would try to lighten up the left-hand side so that you could see that better. But you want to make sure you don't overdo it because it's lit by the window, which is great side lighting. So the lighting's wonderful on that stairway. And then I might, I think about cropping this, I might take some off the top. And there's something in the upper left corner, I can't quite figure out what that is. I might try to crop that out of there too. Anybody else have any ideas?
You just need to bring more detail out of the shadows, I think. I'm not sure it's there, but that's one place I would start.
Anybody else? You know, I think because that left side's so dark, the image lacks impact. And when you're going to enter the picture into the competition, you really got to have some impact. So I'm thinking you lighten that up and bring out bring up those shadows like Dan said, we're gonna help this a lot. So,
Yeah, I don't know what the room looked like, but I would have tried a panorama and included the whole window.
all right, that's an idea.
I think the way it's presented though captures the mystery of the place. Like, where is it? What is it? And where is it going? Yeah, just, it's an effective picture if you want to talk about the mystery. On the other hand, if you want to talk about simplicity and impact and winning a competition, then you may have a different answer, which would be clip some stuff out of it, bring it up a little bit for more impact, and that's all fair. But
Yeah, I
only,
like
only for the competition, not necessarily for the interest of the image.
Exactly. You know, we all have pictures like this that we've taken and we're just as happy as could be with them. We get them printed and hang them on the wall.
Absolutely.
The challenge is when you bring it down to a competition, most of the time they're just not going to fly. You have to be enhanced and pumped up a bit in order to get a decent score from the judges.
It costs you points anytime the judges have to say what's going on in the picture. On the other hand, if you really want a picture that might say sell or attract people over a longer period of time, they might come up with two very different answers, because you know the competition is a 5-second shot or 6-second shot, and if you hung this on a wall, you could be totally fascinated by whatever the hell's going on the left-hand side of this spiral staircase, and where does it go?
I agree. I particularly like your thought, where does it go? I hadn't thought about that, but we have no idea what kind of a building this is and why there needs to be a stairway like that.
Right, and those are all the things that will just interest people as they study an image and scratch their head and go, what the hell is going on here? And let me tell you, if you stand there, and it's not mine, but if you stand there, that's what the hell you'll say.
All right, here's what I did. And see, I also reversed it. I didn't mention that. I think before, when it had the window on the right-hand side, that was the brightest area in the picture, and that tends to take your eye out of the picture, because we read them from left to right. And before, you come in from the left and there was the stairway, and then you hit the window and you go right out the right-hand side. So I flipped it over, and I do this fairly often because I think it improves the composition.
I don't know about flipping it, but you continued that strong rail going around the curve, going back behind the vertical stanchion. And I think that helps it a lot, Ron. It's just that railing that disappeared into the dark in the original print. I think that your eye can follow that in this image is a real plus.
Yeah, I think there's still mystery.
Yeah.
There
And also
is.
just cropping that top off, that shred that was in the top of the shot was distracting to me. Now I follow the handrail, now I follow the stairs round.
I think the problem with flipping it though is that on the window, the writing is backwards and it says zombie, and there's a mysteriousness to it, and you can't tell that now.
And
Yeah,
I don't like it flipped. I think the other way would be better, but you know.
Yeah, I thought about the writing on the window, and I thought, well, who's to say whether that's on the inside of the window or the outside of the window? Yeah, certainly if you flip an image and there's some kind of writing in there, you're going to have a problem with that. And some images aren't going to look correct if you flip them around.
My problem is the window altogether, it being cut in half. I would have liked to see the whole window.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he had added kept the, whoever it was, had kept the window, though, it would have taken more emphasis off the stairs. Here, you know, the subject is the stairs.
It's interesting if you clip off almost all the window to leave a sliver of it there, so you see there's a window where the light's coming from, but you're not distracted by the rest.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the window to show the source of the light.
I do too.
See, I would have emphasized that by using a radial filter or something like that to show a light beam coming across, leading to the steps.
Hmm.
Add some atmosphere.
I'll take you there, Bruce, and you can have a couple of days to shoot that. It is a really tough shot.
Yeah.
I tried to work this area right here to see
That
if
was
I could
really
find
good.
more railing, and it just didn't come out.
Oh, but there's enough there that you can track it into the dark. And I think that makes a huge difference, Ron.
I agree.
Might have been good if the photographer had some sort of like handheld LED light or something. Even able to emphasize that railing as it goes into the darkness.
Yeah, you could have lit it with 1,000 watts too, you know, but
Of course.
I think it's a different picture when you do that.
Right, right.
All right, good comments. Let's move to the next picture. I like this a lot. This was one of my favorites. I think the pose here is just powerful. And the girl looking at that chess set and resting her chin on her arm, I think that all works. And I think the hand, her right hand over here is essential to the story here. You know, she's either moving it or she's holding it and still trying to make up her mind about the move. But what I see here is a strong diagonal from her eyes, looking down to the piece, over here to the hand and back up to the eyes again. I think that's the essence of this photo.
It's a great composition. It looks a little soft in the focus to me.
And of course, I like the setting in this old ornate building here. It gives you a nice palette, you know, a small palette of images to work with. They all seem to work together. You know, I like her black top that she's wearing.
It's warming up. It'll be a while, but
One of the problems is in the foreground, it looks like there's a coaster on the table. And I think that's a serious distraction.
Agreed.
There should be a pint of beer on it. That's the problem.
I don't know, do chess
No.
players drink beer?
No, Jonathan, a glass of rum.
Okay.
Good point, Ron.
So how do we improve this photo? Here's what I thought, the coaster has to go. And I don't mind cropping this even right up here, right up into the pieces. But the coaster has to go. And because the picture is working, you know, from here over to the right side, I think we can be willing to give up a little on the left. You've got a little space here. I don't know if that's a hole in the chair or the bench. So I was thinking of cropping in just a little wee bit, get rid of that, get rid of these spots, and maybe a little off the top. So this is where I'm thinking about cropping. And I'm thinking I'd like to maybe darken that background behind her a little bit so that she comes forward a little bit. So I would apply that levels control to this, because it does give more contrast, and I think the contrast is the lightness of her skin compared to that background, which could be made darker.
Well, with her black dress, I don't think that would help.
Let's see.
Any other thoughts?
Maybe a vignette just to bring in, to focus on her.
I'm glad you mentioned the vignette, John. I put a vignette on every photograph that I put in competition because I really think it helps. And the trick with it is you put enough of a vignette on so it helps the photo, but not enough that anybody ever notices it.
My problem with some of the vignettes I've seen in competition is they cover up the subject as well. And I think they should do that on a mask or paint it in there so that they don't cover up the actual subject.
Oh, I agree.
There is a vignette on this, and maybe a little more on the right side would have helped, which would just be a little edge burn on the right. But you know, the
My
background
biggest
wall, the background wall was about uniform all the way up in brightness, from right beside her shoulder.
Yeah, and my biggest problem with this, besides the coaster, is the focus. I'm trying to focus on something and I'm not sure what.
Well, I think her face is plenty sharp. I don't have a problem there at the face. Some of the chest pieces might not be that sharp.
I think the tighter crop would do wonders for this. I mean, it's already great, but to really do a tight crop is going to increase the concentration, the triangle that you spoke about as well.
The biggest problem he nailed, and that is, in my mind, is the coaster. You know,
A smaller detail might be that none of the black players are moved.
might be the what?
None of the black players are moved.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
you're playing against yourself. I don't know.
Susan, you've been watching the Queen's Gambit?
Yes, awesome.
Actually, Susan, some of the black players have been moved. I'm looking very closely.
Well, maybe one. Yeah, I see one. But not to be captured though, maybe. But anyway, that's just probably just being funny.
Yeah, I don't see the black king and queen there anywhere.
Yeah, they're in the back.
They're right there. There's a pawn missing from in front of the.
Yeah, I see
king.
one pawn missing, but maybe two, but not to be captured probably. But
Yeah, and there's nothing in its place that would make sure that it was captured. So
yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea who set up that chess game. The prop man.
It was all I could do to figure out it was a chess game.
like 15 white moves and 2 black moves. So they're winning.
Any other comments?
Next.
All right, here's what I did with this.
Well, the maker will respond by saying, I'll go back and take the coaster out and reassess.
There's not enough room on the left.
I like the front of the chessboard in the photograph.
I do too.
Yeah. And there's not enough room on the left now. It doesn't breathe on that side.
Okay.
But the coaster should have been gone, but I failed.
Or put rum or a cigar on it, Bill.
There you go. Well, or a glass of rum.
So now when I cropped in on it, now I notice this little piece of hair right on her forehead. I think I really like to make that go away.
Not a chance.
It's like these things are never finished.
No,
Yeah, that's true, but
that's fine.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Well, this is one from the digital manipulation. I just love this picture. Surprised it didn't get a ribbon. And my first reaction to this is you got to look at it and say, is this real? You sort of ask yourself, you do a double take and say, is this for real? And you study it. And I guess we'll all figure out that the bear on the left and right is the same bear.
Yeah, that I was a judge and that I noticed that right away.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's why it didn't get a ribbon.
I think I would have gotten a ribbon if the Coke bottle was in them.
That's a good line.
Well, the bear on the left too has missed some of his head. It got blended into the ice and they didn't see it.
Right.
Wake up, Ron.
He freeze up. Oh, there he is.
Ah,
Maybe.
So I asked myself, what could be done to make this better? So I'm gonna always try the levels tool adjustment to see if I can't get any improvement out of that. And then I thought, well, if the bear on the left and the right is the same, and I started studying them, and I see over here, you've got a piece of ice up on the bear and there's a piece of ice in the water. And I go over here and I see, well, here's this piece of ice in the water. Here's the piece of ice on the bear. And I see this line at the water is just identical here to this line. So that makes me think that when this bear got, see, this is the same piece of ice here. I'm confused as why these two don't line up. And it got me thinking about the position of this bear. And I see he now, his face merges with the line of the bear in the back. And now that I notice that, that bothers me. And I thought, well, if I moved them a little bit over to the right, I'd get some separation there. Maybe that would be better. Or even move him in closer where he overlaps the bear in the back.
I would have cloned out that extra piece of ice, both in the water and on the bear.
Well, if you do it on the one bear, it makes them different, see?
Right.
And that I thought I'll try that. And I thought, I tried to lighten them up a little bit, and the one on the left, I tried to darken them a little bit, just to make it less obvious that it was the same bear. So here's what I got.
Yeah. You forgot the Coke bottle.
Yeah. Still need the Coke bottle.
I would say that for me, that's a lot of vignetting. I would call that too much.
No, that's on here. Yeah, it does look a little dark here.
Yeah.
Again, something like a vignette, you got to make your own call on that. Sometimes you do it if you're going to make a print. I need to see it on the print. And then I may change my mind and go back to the digital image and either lighten it or darken it and print it again.
And there's also a some sort of warp tool, I think, in Photoshop. You could have changed the shape of the mouth a little bit on the right.
Yeah. I was sorry I saw that merger there, because now it just really jumps out at me. I love this idea. I wish I'd have thought of it. That's why I'm not an artist.
Bear looks like he's losing something by his left eye.
Which bear?
The one on the left.
Yeah, that's the one that's not complete.
Yeah, they didn't transfer that over.
That was the problem in the original image.
Anything else?
No.
Next.
All right, now there's this is now we're at nature, and I think the question comes up: Are you able to Photoshop a nature image? And the answer to that is yes. You know, you certainly can crop it, and you can make adjustments to it to affect the lightness and darkness and contrast and so forth. But I went back and reviewed the PSA definition of this. That's sort of where we get our guidelines. And one of the things they're adamant about is you cannot remove any item, you cannot add an item, and you cannot move an item in the photo.
I did not do any of those things.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm just thinking about what can you do? What are you allowed to do to a nature photo? But basically what they're saying is you don't want to do anything that changes the nature story. So some people think you can't do any Photoshop on a nature photo, and that's really not true. Okay, so to critique this, the subject here is the line of wildebeest on the other side of the river, climbing up the bank and disappearing into the bushes there. But they don't stand out very much, and the whole picture seems to be pretty flat.
I agree.
And it needs more contrast, particularly the wildebeest, I think. So that's my first issue. The other thing is the zebras down here in the right corner, I think, are a distraction. Yeah, I understand they're crossing the river too, but nonetheless, I think your attention should stay with the wildebeest, not be distracted by that zebra that just got out of the water.
Yeah, but
The other
Ron, in a photographic sense, the zebras are a distraction, but in a nature sense, they could be part of the story. And
Oh, yes,
so-
they are part of the story. They're part of the animals, part of the migration.
Right.
This
I
has
think
a
if
Sebastian.
if you crop just the two on the right and left the one in the center there, and that would help with the composition.
Yeah, I don't think this one's a distraction by itself here.
No,
This has a Sebastian Salgado feel to me.
Yeah, it does.
All right, so how can it be made better? How can it be improved? Well, we've already had suggested cropping the zebras off the right-hand side.
Have them call you back, or?
And I'm trying to think if we could like to add some contrast right where the wildebeest are. So in this area here is where I'd like to really see if I can get a little more contrast. And then crop it somewhere along here. And I don't know that we need to show the grassland out here at the top. Not that it hurts anything. And any other thoughts about improving this image?
I think all those are good.
yeah, I think, just by adding contrast, either by dodging and burning and being selective about it.
You might pull up your black point so that you have a little more pure black somewhere in there.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, what did this image look like in color? Did the wildebeest stand out any better when it was colored? Because I'm thinking they just came out of the river, so they want to be wet. It's not like they're going to be dusty. And anyway, the decision was made to go black and white with it. I'm curious to see what the color part of it looked like.
I truthfully thought it looked better in black and white.
I think you're right.
That's my opinion.
I think it's kind of brown tone, and I think that is
Yeah,
just
that would help.
magical.
I
And
tried
thi-
that too. Well, maybe I did it with a different picture and there was too much dust in it.
Somebody said this feels like Delgado, and I think it does. And I think it feels like a 1935 early photograph. And I think that's a powerful image that you were able to capture, whatever it was that we did with film in those days and selenium toning. But Ron, I think your words about cropping it could also make a very powerful picture.
I agree.
Cropping the zebras out in the top left out. So if you did that, I'd love to see it because,
Just
you know,
mine.
and with the contrast, I'm not so sure. Now it needs more contrast for a contest, but I'm not sure it needs more contrast to hang on a wall.
Exactly. I agree with you, Bill. It almost looks like
I want
an
to see your
etching.
crop. Show us.
All right.
Oh, yeah, you could have
Yeah.
cropped a little more at the top. But that's cool.
Yeah. That tells a story. Contrast.
Maybe straightened it a little bit. If you look at the water line and
Yeah.
the bank.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
always tough when there's the edge of a water across of a
Yeah.
lake, across the river there.
maybe
Yeah,
darken
the
the
bank
upper
even
left
looks
corner a
uneven.
little bit more.
Yeah.
That bush, just to balance the right side at the top. But other
Maybe,
than that,
yeah.
it's a fantastic picture.
Yeah, Karen, it's great.
If you're going that far, you might as well remove that zebra.
If you straighten it, you're gonna chop off part of the wildebeest on the left, so,
Yeah.
that I didn't wanna do. I wanted to have the whole wildebeest there.
You did the right thing.
Yeah.
All right, so with the nature rules, we're not allowed to remove this zebra.
Well,
Can you-
true,
can you
and
see
I
it?
compete in nature.
I don't think it needs to be
Chicago,
removed.
so-
You could remove it and put it in pictorial.
True.
But I don't think
And
it
I
needs to
belong
be
to a
removed.
club that's pure nature.
I'll tell you, the zebra does not hurt the picture.
No.
No, this one doesn't, and I like it better without the other two.
But I would darken the bush on the upper left to look like the bush on the upper right.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Nice shot, Karen.
Thank you.
I tried to avoid increasing the contrast in the bushes or the ground because I wanted to emphasize the wildebeest.
Yeah, no contrast, just change the tone.
Yeah, I agree. Be worth taking a look. Any other comments here?
It's great.
All right, so here's a nature shot. Didn't win a ribbon. I love the subject matter. I think we probably all stopped and looked at items like this and enjoyed them. They're a lot of fun, interesting. Pick them up and examine them all. So the photo is a pattern. I'd be happy hanging that on my wall. But it didn't get a ribbon. It doesn't. Is there any composition to this? You know, it's a pattern. I see you could argue there's some arrangement this way and a line along here, but what's the center of interest? I don't think it's that obvious. This stone maybe should have been the center of interest, but this one's pretty dominant, and so is this one.
But the dominant one on the right escapes from the picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It falls out of the picture, and I think that's not helpful.
So how can we improve this so it can get a better score in the competition? That's the question.
I think it's
I'm
something
gonna-
you just put on your desk or hang in the wall and
Forget about it.
yeah.
I think what I would do with this is I would make this the dominant focal point, and it's somewhat light. And so to enhance that, I would make the rest of the image darker than that, and see how that works. And because this one's going out of the photo, I might crop this out. Crop this here somewhere.
I would.
Yeah. Do a square. One
And
by
then
one.
I'm partial to putting the center of interest in the upper right corner rather than the upper left corner, which means I'd certainly consider flipping the image horizontally. And I would certainly vignette this. I don't want any light areas around the edges of the photo. You know, this thing's sort of light up here. Down here, if this is still there.
Well, you can see the way the light's coming in, so you have to work with that.
Yeah, I like the light. I don't think it's very obvious here, but I think if you darken up the other stones there, maybe the lighting will become a little more obvious.
Do a diagonal vignetting.
Yeah, you can vignette any pattern you want. Sometimes I'll take the lasso tool and just draw it around the stuff I want to protect, whatever the shape is, and vignette the rest of it. Basically, it means darken the corners, but you can darken any part of it you want. All right, so here's what I got. It's different. Will it get a ribbon? I don't know.
In a sense, though, you've really simplified this image, and you've taken away the contradictory parts of the large stone that was on the right going out of the picture. So now you have encased your center 6 or 7 stones. You've made your blonde rock, your white rock, the real center at the upper 2/3 point. And you've simplified the image, and it's really stronger. And some might say by being at the 1/3 point, but I would say you've made it stronger by making it simpler, and would certainly do better in a competition. And it's really a more relaxing picture to look at, I think.
I agree.
You know, some of the things at the edge carried in a tenseness. You know, things that merge at the edge are tense. You might even have one of those in the lower right-hand edge. But in this case, I don't think it's objectionable, and it's a more relaxing and rather pleasant image to look at. Well done, Ron. And
Well, I did this, and after I was done and sat back and looked at it, I didn't feel satisfied. I don't know that this is really where this needs to end up. I see a competition between this image. This gets a lot of attention here.
yeah, it is.
To this one, and so does this down here. I think you can spend a lot of time with this. This is a very difficult image to try to improve and make a competition shot out of.
I like the tension between the 3 diagonal lighter stones with the
These
ones
3?
on the left and right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a nice line here.
And then you've got the ones that it's sitting upon. I agree with Bill that it's a very pleasant image now.
The eye is drawn to brightness, but it's also drawn to color saturation and to
Yes.
sharpness.
Yes.
And I think that's why that upper left-hand rock is, that catches my eye.
Yep. I mean, you could work on this image for a couple of years and make a bunch of different prints from it.
Yep.
It's a great philosophical lesson.
All right, let's
Minor
move on
White.
here.
We need Minor White to discuss this image, or someone.
Well, here, I love this shot. The bird looks so good. It's a waxwing there. He looks great. Almost the entire bird is there, except for a little tip on the tail. And the important part is he's holding that berry in his beak. I mean, here's the story. He's landed on the bush that has the berries that he's going to feed on, and he's got one in his beak. I mean, it's terrific. And the lighting is dramatic because it's almost like backlighting, or from the left side back. So the lighting is pretty dramatic on the bird. But the problem with backlighting is that you sometimes ends up your subject is dark and your background is light, which is just the opposite of what a photographer wants. We want our subject to be in the light. We'd rather have the background dark. So although I like it a lot, maybe the bird doesn't stand out as much as I'd like him to. I guess the other question is the image too busy? Well, It's the berry bush. I don't know if this is a blueberry bush. You know,
Just
here's a
sort of-
lot of
it's-
berries here. I don't mind that so much. These are sort of in the way. The background back here is out of focus nicely. But the bush itself here, you know, there's a lot of it.
This is another one where I would have started off in Lightroom, you know, darkening up the whole image and then using the radial filter coming in from the upper left down to the lower right, lighting up the bird and keeping the background a little darker.
Okay.
I would have done nothing except drag down the luminosity of the greens
Okay.
a bit.
I'll have to try that.
Go in the HDR panel, pick luminosity, put your adjustment tool on the greens and just drag it down.
Yeah, if you boost the saturation and then drop the luminosity, that makes it a lot darker. That would have done well with popping that bird out a bit.
Beautiful image.
I think the left-hand side could be cropped. And it looks square. I think by cropping the left side, you make it now, you get into more of a vertical.
I think it's not bad leaving those bushes on the left-hand side as just perspective of where the bird is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think it balances the bird out because it's dark and he's a little dark.
I think it's an incredible image. If this had been best of show, for me, it would have been all right.
They wouldn't even give it a ribbon.
I was surprised.
Yeah. Any other suggestions to improve this?
I think the only thing I would have done was I would have used the brush tool to lighten up the eyeball.
Yeah, I do that too. Just lighten it up a wee bit. You want to make sure you can see that. You know, even and we can see some highlight in that eyeball. And it's even though we're on the sort of the shadow side of the bird, I still want to see that eye.
But you can see it, you know, and it's very natural. Incredible.
Dan, I think this is one of your suggestions, putting it into Photoshop and using the sharpen tool, lighten. That would have helped with the eyeball without bringing it too bright.
Yeah, you don't want it too bright.
Using the sharpen tool in Photoshop, you said?
Yeah, I think that's what you suggested one time, or maybe it was Paul.
I don't think it was me. Lately, I've been in love with Topaz Sharpen AI.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I agree that a different cropping, simplifying the background, and either make that backlighting work for you or lighten up the bird. Go one way or the other. I think the backlighting could be effective, maybe even if it was enhanced somehow.
Could you all repeat that a suggestion on the luminosity in the HDR panel, what you did there? I didn't follow that one. I think Bill Woody said something about that.
Oh, you didn't follow that?
Yes, one more time, and then maybe
Oh,
I can.
one more time. What I said was, if you go to the HDR panel in Lightroom.
HDR or HSL?
I'm sorry, it's HSL. It's hue, saturation, light, and luminosity. It's
Okay.
the HSL panel. And go to luminosity.
Mhm.
And then in luminosity panel, there's a targeted adjustment tool.
Okay.
And just click in this picture on the green and move the slider, and you can increase the luminosity of the green or darken it.
So you
And
just
I would take it down.
So
You might find that yellow would affect it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
yellow.
but if you click into the image,
it'll take the whole
it'll
colors.
take down the areas you're concerned about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So it's the targeted adjustment tool on the HSL panel in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw.
Okay, thanks.
That's a $700 lesson. It's the only one in there.
I'll have to work that one off.
Okay.
Camera Raw, would you do it?
Yeah, they can do
Yeah,
it
Camera
there
Raw
too.
too.
Camera Raw as well. But you got to go to the HSL panel. Don't try to screw with the tent, you know, or anything else. Just
Okay.
go to the luminosity panel in
Mhm.
HSL and use the targeted adjustment tool.
I've never done that before. Okay. I'll
It's time.
Makes two of us.
That's a great feature of Lightroom. I use it all the time.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Thank you.
You'll see it's called luminance, not, if you're looking for it.
Okay.
Not luminosity, but you'll see it.
All
Oh, there's
right.
luminance. Okay. Sorry.
I'll tell you what I did here. I cropped the left and a little bit off the bottom, and I ended up with a vertical image. And it just, I had to flip it horizontally to get it in the orientation that I like. I selected the bird and applied the levels to it to try to get a little more detail in the feathers. Then you invert the selection. I have the background, and what I did was I darkened it and desaturated it a little bit. So here's what it looks, and I lightened the eye just a little bit. Here's what I got.
I don't really care.
I think I get the bird to stand out more, for sure. I see a little line on his back, which means I didn't do a great job with the selection.
That's where the luminance slider would have been great, because it would do all that without worrying about a selection or a line, and it would have gotten that spot in the between the open beak, top and bottom. It looks like it wasn't brought down like the rest of it.
You like flipping them, don't you?
Well, I always think about it. Well, okay, kids, that's the last photo.
Nice job, Ron.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Yeah,
That's,
thanks, Ron.
that's a great idea
Thank you.
to actually demonstrate how photos can be, presented differently. So thanks a lot for that.